Hello, everyone. We're live. This is Aini Living Conversations 196th session. We are chatting with Blue Heron Women. I'm Julian Katari. This session, we are going deep into a subject we touch on a lot of times in many different fields, in many different ways. We provide a lot of different information on how to achieve this, and this is going to be even more of that information. I guess has to do with the mental part of it, the mental part of sovereignty. Liberating yourself is something that you have to choose to do. And that's why we've made the differentiation between the word liberation and the word freedom. Freedom is something that is maybe intrinsic to all living beings, but then that's taken away from us. And we have to make the conscious, willing decision and take the action of liberating ourselves.
Yeah.
So that's liberating yourself. This is the 196th session. Welcome everyone to this Aloha Aini Dao Living Conversation.
So, why do we talk about this? Because there are these immutable, unchangeable, absolute, and in an ever-expanding cosmos, universe, there's hardly anything that's absolute, but these are absolute laws of spirit or principles, right? So the cosmic laws of spirit are the principle of becoming in divine evolution. So before humans wrote laws in books, the cosmos had already written them in stars. Long before man made constitutions, charters, and courts, there were rhythms and principles woven into the very breath of existence. These were not man-made commands etched in stone, which incidentally, Baruch Espinoza, I have yet to watch the video on YouTube about how he discovered that the 10 commandments of the Bible were not given from God to Moses. They were written by men. So these were not man-made commands etched in stone or parchment. They were and are eternal laws inscribed by the cycles of the moon, the stars, the planets, and the balance of opposites, the turning of seasons, and the birth and return of souls. These were laws or principles that our ancestors all listened to before they spoke, that were honored before they ruled, and obeyed before they even prayed. And spiritual traditions of all our ancestors were sophisticated sciences of the soul, guardians of a cosmic operating system. And so this is an invitation for us to remember what our spirit and our soul has always known, to awaken us to the architecture beneath our breath, the dynamic process that governs the stars, Mother Earth, and ourselves. That's what the importance of these principles are.
And we're going to learn about them.
Let's continue with the pendulums from last week. So how do we escape a pendulum's grip? So number one, fighting a pendulum is useless, because fighting it means you're feeding it its energy. You're feeding it with your energy. So the first and foremost condition for success is just refusal to fight with a pendulum. And the more you try to fight off the annoying things in your life, the more actively they will pursue you. Next, we don't have the right to condemn or change anything in this world. And you might go, wait a minute, yeah, I do. No, you have to accept everything. Like you would accept, say you go to an art exhibition, you don't walk in and go, I don't fucking like that, change that.
Oh, wow, that's a nice metaphor.
Yeah. So you accept everything, no matter whether you like it or not. And if we don't like the artwork in one area, we just go to another area. And if we don't like it, we leave, we walk away. We don't walk in and demand that the owner changes it or the gallery, right? To our. So once we've recognized the right of a pendulum to exist, we have the right to leave it alone and to resist falling under its influences. But we always need to remember to not fight with it. Don't blame it. Don't get angry with it, because then we're just playing its game. Quietly accept the pendulum as something given, say no, and walk away. But in order to say no, it's necessary to accept. The word accept doesn't mean to embrace it and welcome it in and make it part of yourself. You just admit that it has the right to exist.
What an important distinction, yes.
Yes, and then you pass on by indifferently. So we have the right to say the current MAGA bullshit going on, that it has a right to exist. I'm not going to embrace it. I'm going to accept that it's there, and I'm going to walk away and not engage with it. Or the Democratic side, right? Same thing. Both pendulums of, anyway, this is not political. It's just a demonstration. So to accept and let go means to let things pass through us and wave goodbye to them as they leave. So if we're pestered by thoughts of things we dislike, those very things will find our way into our lives. Whether we really love something or hate something has no meaning, because our thoughts are preoccupied with the object of either our love or our hate. And so the energy then fixes on a certain frequency, and we will be captured by a pendulum and transport it to the life track where that either loved or hated object exists in abundance. So to throw something out of our life does not mean to avoid it. It means to just simply ignore it. Avoiding it means we're giving it passage. Again, we're accepting it, we're embracing it in our life, while actively trying to free ourselves from it. But to ignore something means not to react to it in any way, and consequently not to have it in your life. So imagine your radio receiver. Every day you wake up and listen to a station that you really hate, but yet all you have to do is tune your radio to a different station. And that's all we have to do in real life. Wow. There are people who teach us to put on energetic armor, or maybe place an imaginary iron curtain between ourselves and the world to protect us from the pendulums. But when we put ourselves in this iron shell or armor, we have to constantly tell ourselves, I'm a blank wall, I don't see anything, I don't hear anything, I don't know anything, and I won't speak to anyone. There is no access to me. And to maintain such a protection field requires a lot of energy. So if you're trying to shut yourself off from the world, you're constantly on an edge. And besides, the energy of that protective field you're trying to surround yourself with is then tuned into the frequency of the pendulum against, or pendulums against which you built the protection. And this is exactly what the pendulum wants. So then what serves as protection against pendulums? Emptiness. If I am empty, a pendulum won't be able to catch onto me. If I don't join the pendulum's game, I don't try to defend myself against it. I simply ignore it, and its energy files past disappearing. A pendulum can only affect someone that accepts its game. So in other words, someone who starts radiating thought energy on the frequency of the pendulum. So imagine a burly fellow raising his sledgehammer at you and striking a blow. You have nothing against it. You're not defending yourself. You're not attacking him. You simply step aside, and the big fellow with his sledgehammer hits an empty spot. So it falls through empty space. This is the same principle that lies at the heart of Aikido. And Bagua Zhang, the empty circle. The whole secret is that the defender has nothing against the attack. He agrees with the attacker's way, walks together with him or her for a while, and then lets go of the him. And the energy of the attacker falls through into empty space, because if the defender is empty, there is nothing to catch on to. So once again, with this, it takes work to become empty. It does. It takes a constant, conscious effort to become empty. But don't think that just a slight trigger, okay, is going to get you overrun by a pendulum. You have to ruminate on that trigger. You have to really, right? You can get triggered and go, Oh, I'm triggered, I'm done. If you ruminate on it for 5 minutes, the pendulum's not gonna invade you. It's not quite that fast, right? It's a process. Again, it's always a process. It's a process of becoming empty, not being triggered. Or if you're triggered, to immediately withdraw the trigger, or to, right? So another way is to extinguish a pendulum. If you can't make the pendulum fall through, your choices are to do something the pendulum is not expecting at all, something that doesn't fit in the current usual course of events. So an example would be, say you're in the inner city and you're coming up, you don't know where you are, you're a tourist, and you're coming up on this gang violence that's brewing, and they're threatening you, and you can't, there's nothing you can do. So you can say something like this, and this happened to a person, to the leader. You want me to break your nose or your jaw first? Or how about I just reach up and grab you by your ear and rip it off? That's so unexpected that when you make that movement to grab the ear, all of a sudden that big bad burly guy is like, no, leave me alone. And the pendulum is dissipated because it's so unexpected. And they actually taught us something like this when I was doing psychiatric nursing, to break pendulum, extinguish it. So it's just simply doing something that's not expected, that doesn't fit in the usual course of events. And having a sense of humor and a creative imagination can be very helpful in extinguishing a pendulum. So, for example, you're in a group of people that are just freaking annoying you. So now imagine, instead of focusing on the annoyance, switch your point of view to imagining that you're in a bird bazaar in Antarctica and all the people around you are penguins, and they're waddling and pottering about in a funny way. And who would you be in this situation? Totally changes. And you don't get taken over by a pendulum. Of course, it's hard to control yourself when you're mad with rage. And at these moments, the hardest thing of all is to remember that there is only a pendulum. It's not him or her that's doing it. It's the pendulum that's trying to draw energy from you. Because these destructive man-made pendulums are vampires that use their own form of anesthesia, which is our habit of reacting negatively to a nuisance. So having freed ourselves from the influence of destructive pendulums, we acquire freedom or liberation. But freedom or liberation without a goal is a suspended state. So our freedom or liberation is being free from being captured by the pendulums of others. However, there's pendulums that are of use to us personally, and these are our own pendulums. So to explore this concept of pendulum and mental everything is consciousness or mind, we'll go to Itzhak Bentov, who survived a Nazi prison camp to invent the EKG machine and the self-steering cardiac catheter and more. He said that Lealu mind, or life, equality, abundant love, unity, consciousness, is the primordial substance. As he meditated, he was a Jew born in Czechoslovakia, and when he was 9, he was like, fuck you, God, I want to know if you really exist. I'm going to go eat a ham sandwich on Yom Kippur. Right? Ham sandwich, absolutely a no-no in the Jewish religion, and on the Yom Kippur day, absolutely. And he didn't fall down and get struck dead. So he was like, wow, what the hell? Obviously, you don't care about that guy. So that was his journey. And he went to a concentration camp. He lost most of his family. And he came to the U.S. In a roundabout way. So in his meditations and his work and his curiosity, going beyond the borders, he found that consciousness, Lealu mind, life, equality, abundant love, and unity is the primordial substance from which all matter arises. He also, through various methods, was allowed to discover by this mind that there is only a single field of consciousness or mind experiencing itself from infinite points of view. So you are a point of view, I am a point of view. This is where the Mayan calendar comes in with its daily, with its 20 day signs. Each gives us a point of view. The Sufis also have this with 100 different names of Allah. They just don't put it to a calendar.
Okay.
They, 100 different names of Allah, they were like, if this day is named this, it's going to be a fierce, ferocious day. If it's this name, it's going to be a kind of the same thing. They just didn't put it to a calendar like the Mayans did. Consciousness is not within us. He discovered we are within consciousness. And he said that our brains are the focal point within consciousness. And now science has discovered what the ancient Chinese Taoists knew, that there are actually 3 focal points of consciousness within each living being. Number 1 here, number 2 the heart, and number 3 the hara, the lower dantian. These are all places where nerve endings, there's lots of neural fields, which takes us into Jacobo Grinberg work, but we're not going there tonight. He also discovered that it is not that we have a soul, it is that each one of us is the soul of the universe, experiencing itself through. So you, Julian, are the soul of the universe, experiencing itself through a form called Julian Katari. I am the soul of the universe, experiencing myself through a form called Ingrid Lorne, or sacred, or blue heron woman. So that's, yeah. So as he investigated, he discovered that every thought, every emotion is literally a wave or a pendulum. And that our pendulums, personal pendulums, do not stay in our personal brains. They propagate throughout the field of consciousness, interacting with others and creating patterns that manifest, that show up as the reality we experience. And they do that through our neural networks, which will take us to Jacobo Grinberg work, but not tonight. So from what he discovered, we're not actually thinking thoughts. The thoughts are thinking us. So whose thoughts are thinking you? We're each a convergence point where waves or pendulums organize into patterns of experience. So he also discovered that the universe has not been created once in the distant past. It is being created continuously, moment by moment, through dynamic interaction between consciousness and the infinite possibilities in the field of consciousness, or Lealu mind. His discovery showed that human consciousness or mind is a cosmic pendulum oscillating between the infinite and the point here, here, and here. And every one of us exists simultaneously in these 2 dimensions, either as an individual particle. That's all we are, is particles. Think about that. I'm just a particle. I'm just a little tiny grain of sand on the beach. And it takes the self-importance out of everything, right? Because that's what a particle is. So each of us exists in simultaneously in these 2 dimensions, as an individual particle, limited in time-space, or as an infinite wave pendulum, waving and swinging in a field of consciousness. So the entire field of consciousness is a pendulum or wave that oscillates between these. And a pendulum in a body form moves to particularity or particularity. We experience ourselves as a separate mortal being. And when it oscillates to the wave side, we dissolve in the infinite ocean of pure consciousness. But most of us live trapped at one extreme of the pendulum, particularity, without realizing that our true nature is this immovable axis, cosmic tree of life, from which all movement arises. It's immovable. Doesn't never move. It's always there. It's eternal. He also perceived that our pendulums stop moving naturally as they get trapped by pendulums that keep us trapped on one side of the oscillation, which we just talked about, right? The side of separation and limitation. And all these pendulums that keep us separate and limit are absolutely freaking destructive and will chew us up and spit us out. So he noted that these other pendulums, well, they're not really malevolent because they're unconscious forces that feed on our fragmented consciousness. But he perceived that as long as our personal pendulums stay fixed in the experience of separation, we remain an energy source for these forces. So he said that the battle is not really between good and evil, but between fragmented consciousness and integrated consciousness, between living as a limited pendulum or awakening as the immovable axis that contains all possibilities. He said that the secret is to find the stillness at the center from which we can observe all movement without being dragged by it. And from that center, we are neither particle nor wave. We are the conscious space that allows both experiences. He said that recognizing ourselves as the center or a conscious space container of Lealu mind is our intimate nature. So every time we identify with a thought, an emotion, or a feeling, or an experience, we are choosing one extreme of the pendulum. And every time we simply observe without identifying or judging, we return to the immovable center. So according to Itzhak Bentov, awakening is simply a recognition of where we are currently positioned. And this is why we're calling it medicine wheel training, so we can find out where we're positioned in this medicine wheel of life. Number one, by what moon we were born in, or what clan member right? And by learning our clan members. And when we find the center of the pendulum, then we become a tuning fork for others. So in his words, our mission is not to serve the world, but to find our immovable center, our cosmic axis, our cosmic tree of life center. His experiments prove that each human center of consciousness or mind is a cosmic transducer, receiving frequencies from the universal field of consciousness in information packets, and then our neural fields convert them into experiences. So we do not really experience reality. We experience our tuning of reality. And he said the frequency of fear is like a 0.5 hertz, and that of unconditional love is 528 hertz, and that of cosmic understanding is 741 hertz. He also discovered that the wild pendulum of our mind or consciousness can be mastered by finding that point of stillness at the center of our being. And we heard that our fifth world of it that we're coming into is the world of illumination. Illumination is not becoming something special, but remembering what we have always been. A conscious focal point of the infinite field of cosmic creativity. His last investigation showed that when enough humans are operating from the higher vibrations of love at 528 hertz and above, it creates a new pendulum that facilitates mass awakening. And every person who finds their immovable center, their cosmic tree of life access, makes it easier for others to find theirs. So we're both the pendulum and we are the immovable point from which all creation emerges. And this is why we're learning about this. These laws are immutable. These principles are immutable. They're never changing. No matter how big the universe expands, this is absolutely unchanging. As soon as we come to our center of knowing that we're a conscious focal point of the infinite field of cosmic creativity or the God process, we operate from that center instead of this place of separation and fear and greed and lust and nonsense, misery planning. And we create pendulums that don't suck the energy of others. They expand us. And so that's where we'll stop tonight.
Oh, really? Well, you know what this got me thinking is, you said that we create the pendulums, but what are the pendulums? You've mentioned that they are quantum particle beings.
They come from our thoughts.
Come from our thoughts. Are they all one entity? Are they different entities? What do you think? Is there somewhere where we can research into that?
No, that's all new. So the Ford Motor Corporation is a every single corporate entity is a pendulum. It has created, with its culture and its system, it's a pendulum. Each one of us is a single entity pendulum, but whatever that corporation pendulum, so the MAGA is a pendulum, COVID is a pendulum, that still got people trapped. There's these huge ass pendulums. The Southern Baptist Church, the Seventh-day Adventist Church, every single denomination has created their own pendulum that needs its adherents to stay alive. But then each one of us on our own is a pendulum. So the gangs are pendulums. Neighborhoods become pendulums. When people all adhere to a certain, it becomes a pendulum.
So there's the mental structures, right? In a way.
Yeah.
And can we ever be completely free from them, or?
Yeah, we don't let them. Okay, so take, for instance, PTSD is a big pendulum, a huge ass pendulum that will freaking eat you up and spit you out. It's a destructive pendulum, absolutely destructive pendulum. The VA disability program is a pendulum. And I discovered early on that it was such that it was just a word game. So I walked through the system and received a 100% permanent and total disability rating for PTSD, and I don't have PTSD. I didn't allow myself to be captured by the pendulum. But 99.9% of all the other veterans that have gone through the program are now fucking disabled for the rest of their lives, thinking they have this illness that keeps them in this tiny little space for the rest of their lives.
You chose to liberate yourself from that pendulum.
Yeah. As soon as I realized it was a word game, I played the word game, and I fuck you, pendulum, goodbye.
Okay. So this is going to be helpful for those who are, it's like a first step, because as long as you don't take this first step, it's really difficult to take all the other steps into sovereignty. Joining, for example, Aloha Ni Dao Living, well, that's a big step. And that's why this kind of little steps are necessary, so that you can soon enough make the decision and join Aloha Ni Dao Living, which is the kind of like the definite path into a complete liberation, where we have this experimental lab of how do we do this. Let's liberate ourselves from absolutely everything that is taking our energy, our freedom, our sovereignty, that is hurting Mother Earth, that is hurting us, that is hurting the coming 7 generations. And is there something else that we will be learning next week?
Well, next week we'll go to Africa to the principle of unity.
Okay.
We'll talk about that.
Is that the Ubuntu?
Ubuntu. Yeah. Well, we'll go into Ubuntu is a different They have it as a different principle than unity, but we'll go into those two, absolutely. And we'll even go into their law of their principle of reciprocity, which will take us into the principle of Aini, which will coincide with the principle of Aini coming from the Andes.
Okay.
And then we'll go to the and then after that, from unity and Ubuntu and reciprocity, oh man, we'll probably cover those next week. Then we might go into the principles of everything is vibration, rhythm, cyclical and cycles and spiraling. I mean, we could Hermetic principles have this separated all into one, but they're kind of there's kind of these groupings of principles or laws.
All just one. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So the principle of unity, Ubuntu, for next week on Wednesdays.
Principle of unity or oneness.
Or oneness. One at 8:45 Central Standard Time. Check your times if you're somewhere else. And most probably you will be watching this recorded. Please let us know that you've been here. Give this a like, a share, and help us out getting this information out to everyone, so everybody else gets a chance for to achieve this freedom, that make these steps and have this information for them. It's a gift economy that we work on here, so this is a gift for you, and you can gift this to somebody else just by sharing it. So I guess that is going to be all for this session. We wish waterfalls of blessings for everyone, and make sure you are liberating yourself in any way you can. Stay clear of the pendulums, and lots of love. Waterfalls of blessings.